I'm very excited about this video because right here on this side, I have arguably the holy grail of Chevrolet heavy-duty diesel pickup trucks, the 2006 LBZ code 6-speed Allison Chevy Silverado 2500. And over here, I have a brand new 2025 model, basically of the same truck. So this is old versus new. Duramax V8 versus Duramax V8, Allison versus Allison. But I want to do a couple of things. I want to show you all the features between these two trucks, kind of compare them, and also do a 0 to 60 to see how quickly or slowly the old truck with 285,000 miles accelerates versus a brand new truck with just what, 4,000 or 5,000 miles. Let's go do this. Really, the Duramax era of Chevy heavy-duty pickup trucks started in 2001. Of course, they had other diesels before that, but in 01, they introduced the 6.6 liter turbo diesel V8, which basically used an Isuzu diesel design for the engine. And then they put an Allison transmission behind it. And Allison and General Motors have been together working for many, many decades. GM used to own Allison, then Allison was separate from them, and then they were working together again. But the bottom line is Allison makes a really great transmission, and the Isuzu design for the diesel engine is arguably also very good. And in 2006, which is 5 years after they introduced the 2001 model, they put the 6-speed Allison for the first time into this truck, which gave it a lot more capability. They also upgraded the horsepower on this engine. And it was really class-leading powertrain for that year versus Ford Powerstroke and Dodge Ram Cummins trucks of that era. That's why some of these trucks are so desirable right now. Before we get going much further, I want to thank my friend Jon for letting me borrow his 2006 Chevy Silverado here. He's owned this since brand new, so this is a one-owner truck, which also makes it quite special. But I just wanted to show you the kind of the size and dimensions of this truck. This is a crew cab with a standard length bed, and the wheelbase is about 153 inches long, which is a bit shorter than the new truck I'll show you in a second. And the bed here is just about 6.5 feet. I'm about 6'3", and I can almost reach the entire length of this bed. And also, well, let me show you inside this bed. Yes, so Jon made a couple of modifications to this truck that we'll go over later, but I wanted to show you inside this bed. I'm standing here on the ground. This is basically a stock ride height, and I can easily reach the bottom, the floor of this bed. And it's been bed lined, and Jon does use it to pull a fifth wheel camper, and also it has a gooseneck hookup here in the bed as well, and a 7-pin trailer wiring connector inside the bed. So even though this truck is about 19 years old, it still can do a lot of very useful work. And there's one more thing I wanted to mention. I actually used to own a 2002 heavy-duty Silverado 2500 Duramax, and I remember this plastic surround for the tailgate latch has been known to come off and just fly off after some years and some usage. But Jon's is still here. I don't know if he replaced it or if it's always been here. Nice job. Now, this latest iteration of the Duramax V8 diesel is codenamed L5P, and really this engine came out as a 2017 model and was basically unchanged until 2023. In 2024 they actually introduced several changes, including some power updates and power changes, and this is exactly what's under the hood of this 2025 model. And of course the Allison transmission is still here. Now it's called Allison branded transmission. It's really designed now by General Motors, and then they basically presented this transmission design and all the data to Allison company, and Allison certified and verified it. That's why you can still see an Allison badge on this brand new truck, just as you do on the older one. Yes, of course, these days everything seems to be getting bigger, and this brand new version of the Silverado has a wheelbase of about 160 inches, which is about 7 inches longer. But this truck overall is quite a bit taller as well. And well, let me show you the bed. The new bed is also longer. It's about 6'10" long, and it's also deeper, which is actually really useful for a lot of different things. But this version, the Trail Boss, also has this optional pretty fancy tailgate. Ha ha ha, see, progress, lots of progress. And you can open it in many different ways. And then you could open this, and because this truck is taller, you could use this as a step or the side bumper as a step here. But overall, this longer bed is a little bit more useful because you can put bigger trailers, and the fifth wheels that you can tow, you can make tighter turns with and not worry so much about the camper actually hitting the cab. This bed has lights, a few more tie down points, power outlet, this is a 400 watt, and of course trailer wiring and a gooseneck fifth wheel hitch attachment as well. Okay, and here's my very unscientific measurement. I'm just standing normally once again, and I can barely touch the floor, but I could touch the floor of the old truck way easier than this. But there is one more thing. So recently there has been a recall on some of the mechanisms in this tailgate latch as well, because this is lockable with your key fob as well, and it does have a camera and a light. It's quite useful, but some of these were the water was getting inside of these, and the latch would sometimes open when the driver didn't want it to open. So the tailgate mechanism got a little bit complex, and with that could come some problems. All right, let's look under the hood and check out some specs. Ah yes, the mighty LBZ Duramax. Let's take a look. So it looks like Jon added kind of an aftermarket air intake system. I believe there is a slightly larger exhaust system on this engine, but in 2006 GM was on a roll because they updated a lot of the internals of this Duramax. They added some extra additional cooling, a larger radiator, a better cooling system, and the rating was 360 horsepower and 650 pound-feet of torque from this engine. By current standards, that doesn't sound like a lot of torque or maybe a lot of horsepower, but this was 35 horsepower more than the Power Stroke V8 in the Ford at the same year, and also 35 horsepower more than the 5.9 Cummins in the Dodge Ram heavy-duty truck lineup. And it has a 6-speed automatic, although there was no manual transmission behind this engine. Still, they were on a roll. This was the torquiest, the most powerful choice for that year. These old Duramaxes also had this kind of a hand pump to help prime the fuel system, and there's a fuel filter right below it. So if you had some issue, or maybe you were running low on fuel and you just added some fuel, you can kind of prime the system. Ah yes, finally, behind the wheel of the 2006 LBZ. So I'm starting on this gravel driveway that goes up to our ranch, because I just kind of want to see how solid is this truck. Yes, it doesn't have completely stock suspension or stock tires, but its ride height is basically factory, and it may be just a few pounds heavier than stock because of those bumpers and the winch. And I don't know if you can tell, but everything seems to be pretty tight. I'm not hearing too many vibrations or loose parts. Overall, this truck drives as if it was only just a couple years old, maybe 2 or 3 or 4 years old, not 19 years old. And I think it's a testament to a lot of things, original build quality and also the owner who has owned it. By the way, John was telling me that he had to replace the injectors in this engine around 2010 time, so about 4 years plus after he purchased this truck. It was under extended warranty, and he had to redo his injectors. I had to do the same thing on my 2002 Duramax. I did my injectors, I think it was around, I don't know, 2012 time frame. All right, let's see how it transitions from dirt to pavement. Haha, there's that Duramax sound. And there's a little whiff of smoke once in a while, a little exhaust that I can sometimes see in my mirror. Overall, this engine, I could hear it. It's definitely there, but it's a pleasing sound. If you love trucks and if you love just diesel engines in general, it's not obnoxious. I'm talking to you normally right now, but it's nice. Alrighty, now let's see this new L5P 6.6 liter. All right, let's pop this massive hood. By the way, functional air scoop right here on top of the hood. And there's an air path that goes through this little drain all the way down into the engine as well. Yeah, the grill is higher, the grill is bigger, and it's partially because it's housing a gigantic radiator and cooling system. And that's of course needed because the capability of the new diesels have increased, especially when you talk about the 3500s and the dualies that are now pulling about 36,000 pounds. But really the displacement of the engine remains the same, 6.6 liters, but the horsepower is quite a bit different. 470 horsepower now, which is 110 more than the older LBZ, and 975 pound-feet of torque. Once again, over 300 pound-feet of torque more than the older engine. And of course, the transmission is new, 10-speed versus 6-speed in the old one. So I'm here back on this gravel driveway, and the suspension on this truck is all stock, except the tires. The tires, these are optional KO3 BF Goodrich all-terrain tires. This truck still does ride like a heavy duty. First of all, it's unladen. I'm not hauling or towing anything. But these tires are quite good. It's a 20-inch wheel wrapped in this KO3 tire. Overall diameter is about almost 34-ish. This is factory spec, once again. And it's an off-road trim of the truck. It comes with some other cosmetic items like painted bumpers, red tow hooks, and the rest. And once again, I'm about to transition from this dirt road to a paved road. And I want to see, that's nice and easy. And also the interior of this truck is just much quieter. And it has to do with the engine and also the insulation, just kind of the cabin in general. There's some rocks flinging from the tires. But I can almost not hear this engine. And that's not really a great thing to me in my perspective, because this is a heavy-duty diesel pickup truck. It almost feels like a giant semi. I mean, it's almost as big, not quite, but the perception, I kind of want to hear this engine. I want to be kind of a part of the driving experience. Of course, I also want to talk to my passengers normally without yelling or raising my voice. This engine may be just a little bit too quiet for my liking. Also, the exhaust brake that's on this vehicle, it's right here. You could turn it on basically anytime. And it's also very quiet. I know it works, but I cannot hear it working. But which 6.6 liter Duramax sounds better? Rev Battle coming up right now. The suspension design is very similar between these two trucks. The old truck has independent front suspension with a torsion bar and of course shocks, and so does the new one. Jon put an aftermarket front bumper with a winch here, additional lights, and he turned up the nose of this truck, the torsion bar, just a little bit to give it a small lift so he could clear a slightly larger tire. So this truck is sitting a little bit more level, but it also has more weight in the front because the winch is right here. All right, so here's the Payload sticker on the 2006 old truck, 2,285 pounds. That's with a stock suspension, of course, and stock equipment. And you have to be mindful, that's not a super great amount of payload, because if you put a really heavy gooseneck trailer on this truck, you may start to run out of payload. But overall, that means this old truck weighs around 7,000 pounds. And the reason why I mentioned the weight of the old truck is because the new truck, with a bigger size and a lot more features, actually weighs about 1,100 pounds more at the curb. But it also has way more payload for 2,500. This one has 3,129 pounds of payload, which means it still puts several people in the cab and tow a big trailer. And this truck is rated at about 19,000 pounds of gooseneck fifth wheel towing capacity, which is several thousand pounds more than that older truck. Jon has kept the interior of this truck in really great condition. As you can see, the dashboard is really nice and smooth. The armrest, the center console, he put an aftermarket Alpine system in here. And if I power up, you'll be able to kind of see some of the gauges. But not everything is perfect, and here's where you start to see the age of this 19-year-old truck. So the steering wheel has a new cover here on the outside, but it does feel really nice. These 2006s do have some cool features like volume control, your information, your trip meter, your source, your voice control here on the steering wheel. So this makes this truck feel very modern. But several other switches have stopped working, or they're working a little bit poorly. Let me explain. So Jon was explaining some of these quirks of this truck to me. One of the window switches is not working. The lock unlock switch here sometimes gets stuck, especially when it's cold. The seat movement control, because it is a powered seat, sometimes that gets stuck. And also the four-wheel drive switch control. Now this truck, of course, it still has functioning four-wheel drive, but sometimes you just have to still stop in order to even switch two-wheel drive high and four-wheel drive high. All right, let's quickly check out the rear seat. First of all, there's a nice grab handle up top. There is a center console here for your cup holders, because there are no cup holders in the door. And as far as space, the front seat is almost all the way back, and my knees are hitting a little bit. But there's quite a few features even in this old truck. There's vents, radio controls. I have cup holders down here as well. And you could store things underneath the seat by lifting this up and putting things down below. The interior on the new truck is way larger. Of course, the cab is larger. And of course, everything works beautifully, perfectly. This truck just has about 4,400 miles. But A couple of features are still here that I love. Column shifter, lots of controls on the steering wheel, including volume as such. Super great technology. Camera system, 360-degree view, so I can monitor everything around this humongous truck. The four-wheel drive system, now there's an optional all-wheel drive mode on these heavy-duty trucks. So you can put it in all-wheel drive and kind of drive in various conditions like that. You could track your trailer information. So a lot of good technology, but of course a lot more complex technology as well. And the rear seat of the new truck also has a grab handle. It's pretty easy to enter, humongous door. This front seat is almost all the way back, but look at what I can do. I can basically relax here. I'm almost 6'3". I do have a center console, cup holders here. I do have cup holders in the center console in the front, vents, power outlets here, USB-C and USB-A, and of course I have a space underneath the seat to store items as well, and it lifts from the front now, not from the back. After 285,000 miles, are all the horses still in the stable? So the truck is fully up to temperature. The transmission, the coolant, the engine oil, I've been driving it for, I don't know, 20 minutes. I'm in two-wheel drive, obviously no traction control, and I'm just gonna brake torque it a little bit, not abuse it, and I'm using my GPS to measure acceleration. Whoa, it has a lot of power. It was hard for me not to spin the tires. The time is 7.84 seconds to do 0 to 60 at a mile above sea level in a truck with 285,000 miles on the clock. I'm super impressed. I'm not sure, maybe Jon is hiding something here. I know it's got an intake system, it's got an exhaust system, but this is, this is not, super tuned, nothing like that. I think it's also a testament that this truck is not super heavy and it still has a lot of torque and a lot of acceleration. I'm just flabbergasted. This truck is cool. It just feels almost new. I'm amazed. All right, so two-wheel drive, normal driving mode, nothing super fancy. I'm gonna spool it up just a little bit, but I don't wanna spin my tires either. Whoa, and it kicks in, spun tires just a little bit, and the transmission is super quick. It bangs gears very, very nicely. So that just a normal paved road acceleration was 7.53, 0 to 60. And there was a little bit of tire spin. I mean, there's a lot of torque going to the ground in this truck. And yeah, that's quite impressive. Maybe not the quickest heavy-duty truck of them all currently in 2025, because Ford does have more torque in their high-output power stroke V8s now and more horsepower. And Ram does have more torque in their new Cummins as well. But nonetheless, quite impressive and very smooth. So please use the comments below. Let me know which truck would you prefer, the old or the new. And also let me know, do you agree? Is this the holy grail of all Duramax powered Chevy pickup trucks? But now, here's my verdict. I love this old 2006 LBZ powered Duramax. It has character, it still has a lot of life in it left, even though those injectors were replaced a while back. And it's still quite good, smooth driving, and pretty powerful. The new truck is refined. It's quieter, it's comfy, way more comfy. It's also very, very quick. But here's about pricing. We have to talk about price. John told me that in 2006, when he bought this brand new, the sticker price on this truck was around $49,000 with all the options inside you see here. This truck we purchased several months ago for a sticker price of $77,000. So that's about $28,000 increase in price, but this truck also has a lot more technology built into it, including cameras, computers, screens, and more capability as well. So the pricing has gone up as well. So which one would I pick? Oh gosh, I used to own in 2002. I love this engine. I love the old truck. But you know what? The spaciousness of the new one and the more towing capacity of the new truck, and more payload also, I'll be tempted to buy a new one. Once again, let me know what you think, and I'll see you next time at oldtfl.com.
You guys love car and trucks? Well, I've got 3 great podcasts that you will enjoy listening to because we are deep into cars and trucks. And talking about trucks, right here is my man Andre and Case working on the next episode of Talking Trucks, where they delve deep into everything that is truckish, including breaking truck news, talking about the different models that are coming up, and of course, tearing down the world of trucks as only Andre and Case know how to do. But if trucks are not your thing, and cars are sort of your thing, check out Carish, our podcast that is sort of car adjacent with Jen and Mary being the ish part of Carish. And finally, Tommy and myself talk all about cars at TFL's Car Chat, where we look into the newest models, talk about what's happening in the world of cars, break down the latest news. All 3 of these podcasts are available wherever you get your podcasts, so check them out. I think you'll really enjoy them.